Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. For the New York Post. Man gives up after threatening to set off multiple bombs on Capitol Hill. Now, this is kind of breaking news in a way. I guess he later surrendered, and he said there were 5 others. I have no idea what that means. Let's briefly show you what he has. He put this. There's on Facebook. This is what somebody said he was against. It was blowback against political elites like Biden, Claiborne, and Pelosi who have sold Americans to health insurance corporations for exploitation. And he said the bomb suspect talks about how health insurance wouldn't pay for anything anymore. He said he's been getting injections in his knees to help him walk. Insurance didn't cover them. His wife had skin cancer, but insurance wouldn't cover it. And hashtag Medicare for all, which I don't go along with. It's not Medicare for all. It's Medicaid for all, but that's another issue for another time. I guess he threatened to set off some bombs, so we're going to have to see how that goes. As far as this guy's mentally stable, he's got legitimate beef, there's more than one person involved. A disturbed man parked where he claimed was a truck bomb on Capitol Hill and made live stream threats to President Biden. Now, I'm not going to be able to show his video he did on Facebook Live because they'll take it down here from YouTube. But the thing of it is, though, I'm going to leave the link for the video for this gentleman I'll say gentleman for lack of a better term. It was really stupid, but maybe he's mentally unstable. I really don't know. Floyd Ray Roseberry of Grover, Connecticut, got out of his pickup and gave himself up shortly after cops used a robot to deliver a telephone that he refused to pick up. Capitol Police Chief Tom Magner said during a brief news conference around 2:30. In one live stream video made from inside his pickup truck, which was parked on the sidewalk near the Library of Congress across from the U.S. Capitol, Roseberry warned Biden, "You shoot me and 2.5 blocks go up with me." And, yeah, you got to take that seriously. I guess it was a 5-hour standoff. And here he is here in his truck. Like I said, I do have the video of him talking on Facebook. Somebody must have found it after it was removed from Facebook. And the man said, "Don't do it, Biden. Don't pull that trigger, because if you do, there's going to 4 more going off. And I ain't got my hands on any of them. They're sitting in cars all over this effing place around here because you thought the South wasn't coming." I have no idea what that means. Well, Joe Biden, the South's coming. I'm waiting on your call. People are going to interpret that probably as a white supremacist. Who the hell knows? Cops have yet to determine if there was any actually explosives in the vehicle, Magner said, but an investigation revealed that Roseberry had some losses of family. I believe his mother recently passed away. We spoke with members of his family, and there were other issues he was dealing with. Earlier, Roseberry posted a series of videos on Facebook in which he claimed to have built a bomb with Tanner Lee, whatever, a 2-part explosive powder that's sold over the counter in many states for making targets that blow up when shot with a high-powered firearm. I know you're watching me. These wires on the side, out this side right here, they run down to these wires. This is tannerite. I'm sure they know what it is. Roseberry also claimed that if sharpshooters opened fire, his vehicle and 4 others nearby would blow up. There's been no finding of any 4 others. "We've got a few options here, Joe," he said in the video, referring to the president. One of the 8 he posted before Facebook locked down his account. Congressional officers in the RNC headquarters are among the buildings evacuated after quickly evacuated. Roseberry parked his black pickup on the sidewalk in front of the Library of Congress, which sits between the U.S. Capitol and the Supreme Court. The driver of the truck told the responding officer on the scene that he had a bomb and what appeared to be a detonator in his hand. At the time, Manger said Roseberry's motives were unknown. He didn't elaborate following the suspect's arrest. And there's just some pictures here. In one of his online videos, Roseberry said, "I don't want to die, Joe. I want to go home. Just like the people in Afghanistan want to go home," he said. "Them people's lives are in your hands. All of them dead. All the dead people are on your hands," staring straight in the camera. "Afghanistan, I'm standing for you strong, too." Obviously, the guy lost it. That's supposed to be the detonator there, I guess. And there's a suspicious vehicle, and that's the building he was parked in front of, the Library of Congress. And I'm going to leave this link to this New York Post article so you can see this brief press conference from the chief of police in D.C. He went on to say, "I'm a patriot. I'll die for this land because my grandbabies are going to have the rights I had." He also offered to surrender, telling Biden, "You step down out of office, I'll step down out of this truck." And you can read the rest of it. And there's some pictures there of the standoff. And both the Senate and House representatives are in recess, but staffers are working in the Capitol complex. In April, a man rammed a car into the barrier in office, killing an officer before the attacker was shot and killed. Now, here's something I wanted to show. That this is of interest, I think, because it pertains to what we're talking about here. This is a survey that was taken, and you want to pause the video and really check it out closely, about the likelihood of a second civil war by party detail. Now, there's a lot of definitions what a civil war is: a real shooting war, a political civil war where states just leave and form amongst themselves. There's a lot of definitions, but it's interesting to see here. If you see the total on the left there in the brown tan, if you take very likely and somewhat likely, that's 60%. We'll round up from 37.9 to 38. That's 60% of people think very likely or somewhat likely there's going to be a civil war. And then it breaks down by party. Pretty close in the Democrats, 20 and 35.6. Republicans, a little bit higher. Independents, about the same as the Democrats, a little bit higher in the somewhat likely. And then somewhat unlikely and very unlikely. There's only, of the total, there's only 30% that believe somewhat unlikely or very unlikely. And there's almost 10% that aren't sure or have no opinion. Now, I don't know. I really don't. And something else besides independent, Republican, Democrat, you can see there, somewhat likely of the something else. I'm not sure what something else would be. Maybe non-aligned party people. I know in New York, you can be what they call a blank and not belong to a political party, of course, and still vote. You're not a Democrat, Republican, liberal, working families. There's a whole list of them depending on what state you're in. And it's interesting that somewhat likely in the something else category is almost 44%. That's borderlining half. But anyway, this is where it's going. Now, would I like to see the United States broken up? Of course not. But the fact of the matter is they're talking about red states seceding. Now, I think it's actually backwards. It's the blue states, the heavy blue states that are going against the Constitution, that are going against the Republic rules, law, our freedoms, the Bill of Rights. If the blue states want to leave, what would you do if you were the red states? What I would do if I was in charge, keep all the red states together, maybe figure out lines in, say, eastern Washington, Oregon, southern Illinois, southern Ohio, southern Indiana. It's going to be a mess. But figure out where the lines should be, and if the blue states want to leave, let them leave. I live in upstate New York, so I'll be screwed living in a deep, deep blue state. I do have a place to go in central Tennessee that I can move there tomorrow or 5 years from now. I have an open invite. But it would be sad, and it would make China the world's superpower by far, economically and militarily. But we're going to have to see how it goes. I think the blue states or the blue state-minded people are playing a very dangerous game. They're playing a dangerous game of chicken, and we're going to see who flinches first. If you remember, after Lincoln was voted, if you remember your history books, if not, go back and look it up. When South Carolina seceded, all the rest of the states followed suit fairly quickly, and no one was able to stop it once the ball started rolling down the hill. It's like taking a car, put it in neutral, and pushing it down a hill. God knows where it's going to end up and how much damage it's going to cause. But once it starts rolling, you can't stop it. Anyway, folks, there's something that went on, I think, that's part of this whole polarization split in the country. And this isn't the only time. We've had dozen plus times, if not more, where the country's been split. When I got out of high school in 74, throughout the first half of the 70s, it was a disaster. With the Black Panthers and the Vietnam protests and a huge, huge social upheaval. It was like that in the late 60s as well, and to a certain extent. It was like that in the 1920s with the Communist Party and the unions. And then, of course, in the 1930s, as the Depression hit the United States, it was a mess for a long time. We've had these things in the 1800s as well. And, of course, the biggest one was the American Civil War in the 1860s. That, of course, was a shooting war that killed over 600,000 Americans. By today's percent would be 6 million. So that, of course, is the biggest example. But we've always been split. We always have. The only difference now is getting more and more confrontational. This time, I believe, the progressives and the leftists have gone too far away from the Constitution and the law. It was up to them, they would throw the Constitution in the garbage and start all over. And maybe the red states should let them. We're going to have to see. But until next time, goodbye and good luck.